Mark, thank you. Collusion confusion, newly released records from the DOJ revealing that multiple members of then special counsel Robert Mueller's team accidentally wiped at least 27 phones used during their anti-Trump probe before the inspector general could review them. Among those, FBI lovebird Lisa Page, whose phone was, quote, restored to factory settings, and Mueller deputy Andrew Weissman, who, quote, entered his password too many times. If this isn't the height of hypocrisy, I don't know what is. Could you imagine if someone Mueller's team was trying to investigate wiped their phones? Joining me now on this and much, much more, VP of the Trump Organization and author of Liberal Privilege, Donald Trump Jr. There the book is. All right, Don, if you had so much as deleted an app on your iPhone, you would have been behind bars right now. How can this happen?
100%. It's absolutely insane. You know, and it's not like I don't even know anyone who's ever deleted a phone, period. Certainly not by accident. But 27 times?
What are the chances?
All magically once they're under investigation? Honestly, who's going to start investigating the investigators, Jesse? This is the most corrupt garbage I've ever seen in my entire life. If I'd have deleted a comma out of an email that didn't actually change anything, I'd be in jail if I did that right now.
Yeah, and your punctuation's perfect.
Like Andrew Weitzman, who was brought in to put in a hit, you know, he can get away with these kind of things because the deep state is held to a different standard.
And these were DOJ phones. So this is Department of Justice property. 27 of them are wiped, destroyed. One of them, you couldn't even see the screen. It was completely obliterated. I mean, this is what Hillary did. Smashing iPhones with hammers, acid washing. This is what they do. I remember Lois Lerner, IRS. She mysteriously wiped all those emails. I mean, if these are the people that are running things, this is covering up the cover-up.
100%. I mean, this is what we've been talking about for 4 years. Again, there's just different rules for those people. Guys like me don't get to play by those rules. We actually have to follow the law. But if you're Robert Mueller, if you're one of his henchmen, you know, you can go and literally obstruct justice. You can literally go and delete information, whether it's under subpoena or under investigation, and you don't get in trouble for it. You saw what the guys did that testified about spying on Americans before Congress. They lied, you know, the McCabe's, the Brennans of the world, those guys, they can lie before Congress. And they don't actually face any consequences, Jesse. They actually get rewarded with, like, contributorship roles on CNN. They actually get a net positive for lying to the American people. They don't ever face accountability, and that's got to change.
Yeah, well, I don't think you and I would consider working for CNN a positive. But maybe in their world, I guess they do. Woodward has this book out. Your dad spoke to him for a while. They have this fake bombshell out where, you know, I guess your dad said, yeah, I was trying to speak calmly and confidently to the American public and not scare the hell out of them to think they were all going to die, you know, like presidents do. And, you know, now they're out there saying he lied about this. Yeah. Now this is a new scandal.
Yeah. You got me. I was trying to maintain calm. I'm the president of the United States of America, and I wasn't hysterical. Now, if they wanted hysterical, they could have elected Hillary because she's pretty good at that. You saw some of the videos that she does with Bill, you know, wanting to off himself in the background last week alone. But that's the difference. He wanted to remain calm. Even Dr. Fauci, to his credit, said, you know what, I never saw Trump downplay it once. I want my commander-in-chief to be able to be calm under pressure. I want him to not exert hysteria to the American people and cause a panic. That doesn't mean he's not dealing with it sincerely or severely, but, you know, that's the reality. You know, Bob Woodward is a couple of weeks before an election. He's got to crank out another book. You know, he was right once 40 years ago, and he's carried it that way ever since. So this will be a big deal, and they will conveniently neglect the fact that Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci, literally said exactly the opposite, and that Trump wasn't downplaying it at all, and he was with him literally every day.
I don't know what they wanted him to do. If he had gotten out there in the middle of the impeachment trial and said, hey, America, there's a real deadly virus coming in from China. We have no idea what causes it, where it came from, or who's going to die. They just say your dad was distracting from impeachment. So we all know that's garbage. But something that's actually a lot different than that. Your father's been nominated twice now for the Nobel Peace Prize. I checked out the criteria for the prize. It's basically removing standing armies and pushing peace. Now, if you look at the troops he brought out of Syria, Iraq, Germany, and Afghanistan, and the peace deals Kosovo between the UAE and Israel and the peace on the Korean Peninsula, that fits the bill.
I think so. He should maybe be nominated for third for finally pulling our troops out of Afghanistan and Iraq, which he's trying to do. You know, other than, you know, the guys that want their board seats at Raytheon, they're putting up a little pressure on that one. But everyone else in America wants to see Donald Trump deliver on yet another promise by getting our troops out of there. So, you know, maybe they'll go for 3 Nobels in 3 weeks to really drive the libs crazy.
No, they'll probably give it to Fauci. I don't think your dad has a shot. It's so rigged. Tell us.
You know they're giving it to someone else,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They gave it to Obama. He was nominated 11 days into his presidency. 11 days, and he got it. So I imagine they'll figure out a way how to get out of this thing, even though Trump actually did something to deserve it, unlike Obama.
Yeah, they'll give it to Antifa or something like that. Tell us about this book. You have a book out, Liberal Privilege. A lot of people are reading it. What's the big headline you want people to understand?
Listen, what it is, it's, you know, Jesse, we were locked down in quarantine. You couldn't go to work, church, or school. But so I sat at home. Now, if I wanted to riot and loot, I could have done that. But that's not really my thing. So I sat at home and I started looking at our opponent that we're running against, Joe Biden, and his half a century in the Washington, D.C. swamp. And when I started doing the research, I couldn't believe how much just totally disqualifying material there is on Joe Biden that the mainstream media just refuses to talk about it. It's not just Hunter Biden's corruption and his, you know, $1.5 billion from the Chinese or the Ukraine, or his brother with the contracts to build housing in the Middle East, even though he never built houses. You know, it's the brain surgeries. It's the terrible policies on race. It's supporting NAFTA, TPP, China's permanent status in the World Trade Organization. All of those things that Joe Biden did that decimated the American middle class, that decimated American manufacturing, and they're running him like he's going to fix things now. Joe Biden probably single-handedly did more damage to the American middle class than any politician alive, and he wants to run to be president to fix things. You know, it's all of these things.
Yeah.
If there was a mainstream media who felt obligated to actually be journalists rather than activists, these would all be major stories. So I literally took it upon myself to take them on and tell the American public, to tell the people who are on the fence, the people who don't know, all of the things that Joe Biden did in his half a century in D.C. Guess what, Jesse? If Joe Biden could have fixed anything, he would have done it by now.
Right. All right, Don Jr. will be at a Trump boat show near you. Check him out in the captain's hat. Don, thanks for coming in, and check out Liberal Privilege.
Thank you, Jesse.